You want to kick this off or do you want me to?
You can kick it off. I
Well,
defer.
I want to speak to filmmakers, producers, even actors who are like thinking of being in the indie space. Film in general, like raising money for film is the most difficult thing in the world. I don't When it comes to scaling, that's something I'm still trying to figure out. I think anyone can get one feature off the ground. Like everyone has enough people in their circle or enough people they can reach out to or whatever. But when it comes to making it like a scalable thing, there are things you can do like tax credits and product placement that I'm looking into, but it feels like film, instead of being this like sustainable business, it's almost like going to the casino. That's how it feels right now. So that's what I'm focused on. And if I have any answers, create something revolutionary that like helps it become more sustainable where you can scale, I'll let you know. But that's where I'm
We'll,
at.
we'll report back.
Yeah.
I think it feels like that for everyone. I mean, they said I've been talking to Doug Ellen lately, the Entourage creator. Name drop. Oh yeah, that just fell right by my feet there. That name, got to pick it up. Uh, he like just pointed out or talking about, like The Departed, and he's like, dude, that whole or Wolf of Wall Street, he's like that whole movie was financed by like this like illegitimate like Taiwanese robber baron or whatever. The guy's still on the run from the law.
Yeah. I heard a little bit about that. Like I
Yeah.
saw pictures of the guy posing with Leo, and I heard he wasn't a good dude.
And that's like through a studio. And they still get dude, have you seen this creatively? I'll have you know.
Vision board.
Well, some might call it that. If I was like a
It's the
teenage
Valley
girl,
aesthetic.
if I was a teenage girl on spring break. No, yeah, the Value Mentality bulletin board of aesthetically pleasing images. Yeah. We're pretty fired up about it.
That's your North Star. You look
Oh
over.
yeah, it all comes back to this. No, not quite. That's a good point. The vision board should be a North Star. I don't know if that quite encompasses enough. It's good, but
Not the aesthetic.
certainly has the aesthetic, which at this point I'm proud to say is not too difficult to capture. But back to yeah,
You're
raising
saying illegitimate money, and that was I don't know how much that film cost,
a
but
ton.
it was all just like one dude, one illegitimate guy.
I don't know, but um,
But your point is that even studios like are
yeah,
scrambling for money and
exactly.
might not like suss it out as carefully because like they have money. They found
Yeah.
it.
I just finished the business plan for my own fundraising situation. Value mentality. We're at a point where we're about to raise capital. The goal is 180K. You heard it here first. 180K. That is not chump change. That is not.
It's not, but
That,
it's totally reasonable. You can make that.
oh yeah, one man's reasonable amount of cap raise is another man's life
Dude,
saving.
it's way easier than you think, I promise. You put that out like less than 200 grand, dude, you got it. And you have the product, you have some sales, you got pictures, you got commercial. Like people don't have any imagination. So the fact that you can show all this shit is like that's a full package. You
Thank you.
got
You know what's
Tanner,
funny?
it's the following, highlight Tanner, you know.
It's a good point. Actually, maybe we haven't even done that enough. Now that I think about it. In the so I finished making this business plan, and I'm gonna go back to our business advisor. His name's Salona. I'm gonna hit him up, and we're gonna polish it off together. But I so many of these pages in this business plan, I just went to AI for ChatGPT, and it shoots out the most elaborate stuff for us. Like it really helped me allocate like what the funds would go towards in its recommendation, and I'll talk about it right now. A big part is advertisements, or at least I think like 30% of the funds would do that, according to that. And then 40% would be product inventory, because that's just a way to turn over finances is to make it back. You actually sell more product. And then influencer outreach and stuff. And then it tells you the business model, what you need to do. like drops, create scarcity, do events, micro influencer outreach, brand or influencer ambassadors. Anyway, I could go through every little kitschy term there, but it's we really like laid it out. It's inspiring.
Dude, that's awesome. AI has been really helpful. Like even understanding film finance and like all and where I should allocate portions of the budget. It's crazy. It's like anything you want to know in the whole world, you
Yeah.
can go down whatever rabbit hole and it's like an expert in everything.
I think it's interesting to me that it's finally something like we've been waiting for the longest time for like a robotic lifelike thing.
Yeah.
Like ever since ever. And what's it called? Oculus, the 3D goggles and everything have never quite been there as much hype as has been on it. And in the last 8 years, 10 years especially, the Apple headset and everything, everyone's like, oh, it's so different. And then it turns out to not really be that different. AI now with this chat GBT finally feels like something where if you type in questions to a robot, it's not just going to spit out to you answers that like would take a human just 6 hours to find. Like it's not going to spit out answers that would like that you're just going to like find straight from Google. These are answers that like legitimately are human level of detail, and it asks you follow-up questions and it like tries to get in your head.
Yeah.
Creative.
It's like tailor-made for you.
Yeah,
Specific any scenario. I'm so glad that you jumped like dude,
totally.
me too. Like I've gone deep into it maybe like 3 months ago or something, and it's been like my best friend. Like it's
Yeah.
crazy.
My dad and I were joking about that today. How like it's my only person I can really trust is my robot.
Dude, you can also if you're like frustrated about something. Like I like there was one point early on when I was trying to get financing for this movie, and I was like, there just is no one here that is even interested and it's like just be patient, like take your time. You made great strides. Like
It's
it's like fuck yeah.
it has like very human answers to things, like therapeutic. Are you sipping an espresso, by the way?
Yeah, dude.
You are astonishing. Always. I respect it. I love my coffee too, but it's just funny how you don't have to worry about being kept up at night.
I think it's my lack of sleep that makes it fine, you know. You
It
get
all
a lot
blends
of sleep.
together.
You get like 9 hours, right?
I try to, dude. I doesn't feel perfect either. I don't know if I'm getting what they would call REM sleep necessarily, that deep, but I
You
do all right.
should be at 9 hours. I'd hope so.
One would hope, man. Right now that I go through phases. Right now, yeah, I usually wake up at like 6 a.m., like
Yeah.
5:45, 6 a.m., like just naturally, and then I get up and I'm going. Well, no, I always kind of feel like, hey, should I try to go back to sleep for like an hour? It doesn't really work. Anyway, enough about sleep. Did you watch the Academy Awards?
I saw parts of it. Yeah.
Me
These
too. I watched parts, yeah.
I thought Conan was like a breath of fresh air. I thought him
Yeah,
and Adam Sandler were great.
I do. That was refreshing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Sharpay.
that was so freaking funny. One last thing. Did you see any of the Academy Awards movies?
Uh, you know what? I don't I mean I saw Demi Moore one.
I did too. That's like the only one that I saw.
Yeah, I
I
didn't
saw.
see anything else.
What did you think of that movie?
I liked it, bro. I liked it, which means you probably hated it. But the visuals were great. The acting I thought was great. I
I
thought like aesthetically it was really cool.
It was. I only saw it because my roommates were watching it in the living room and I came home one night. I feel like some of these Oscar movies lately, like I just don't really jump to watch them. They tend to be like super boring or like honestly just not that creative to me, like redundant stuff that we've seen before.
But
And I
you know
think
what's crazy? Not to interrupt, but like the fact that we're in this industry,
yeah,
like, and the fact that we want people to see our shit, really respond, have a massive audience. Meanwhile, we can't even like bother to watch all the Oscar nominated films. It's kind of crazy. You know what I
Well, first
mean?
of all, I just caught myself like it's not just Oscar movies. I think most movies and
Yeah.
stuff in general tends to suck over it. I don't know how they butcher it so bad, but is what it is. I'm not saying I would necessarily do better, but I think I would. And the so the Substance, the Demi Moore movie, um, it I walked in and like you said, the visuals and stuff were like pretty just mind blowing. Or just like very stylish and interesting and like seeing like the young Margaret Qualley character playing who's supposed to be the Demi Moore as like a young girl. It was just like kind of even from just like a inside baseball standpoint and being like if you know Margaret Qualley as an actress and you're just like, oh, she's like doing her best sort of impression of like a young Demi Moore. It was funny to see Margaret Qualley act like that compared to how she did it in something else that I know her from, like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And that was cool and it was like for a minute I thought it was pretty damn interesting, this whole sci-fi aspect. But then at a certain point I thought it got exhausting in one note. And like we've kind of seen that thing before of like this person makes a deal with the devil to get something that's satisfying for a second, but then when it kept eating her alive, you were just thinking like, haven't I kind of seen that before? Like I want to see a twist on it. Like where does it have to be such a dystopian tragic ending stuff, you know?
That's fair. That's fair. I
Okay.
want to make like at least in my first few films, I like if they're like one base hits, you know, I'll be like, yeah, like we got that. Like I feel like there was enough there that it was like I'm like that's a solid movie. You know what I mean? It's like a
I
good
do.
solid horror film.
Our bar's just so low these days that like I guess
Well,
I mean,
it's hard, bro.
it-
I mean, it's crazy. Like just me seeing now, like being in the driver's seat of what it takes to get full financing and all the players on
no,
board, get a schedule.
no, no. That's why everything ends up being bad, is because people are so caught up in the business of film and they put the business on such a pedestal. Oh, it's such a lifestyle to be a writer, to go to a cafe, to work with producers and the financing. And oh, I just got
Bro,
here
how is being a writer and going to a cafe the business part of it? What do you mean?
because essentially anything I'm referring to. Wow, I'm about to make a hot take right here, and it's great. Essentially, anything that is in the pre-production standpoint is what I'm kind of referring to as the business of making the art, right? Or whatever. So everyone gets caught up in like, because a lot of people come to show business from the standpoint of like loving movies, loving stuff. So
Yeah.
once you peel back the curtain and start to actually get paid for doing things like making the movie, writing it, directing it, producing it, all this little stuff, people get really invested into these lifestyles. Hey, I'm a blue collar film person. This is really exciting.
Right.
And get too much into the making of this stuff. I think part of that is important to do. You need to get into that, but then it's a new maturity level that some people probably never quite get to, where you come around and you realize none of that gets seen. None of that is supposed to be noticed. The style, even the costume design, the this, that, you're supposed to forget about all that stuff as an audience member and just get caught up in watching a story that
Yeah.
could literally be done better being told by someone speaking next to a campfire. It's age-old storytelling at its purest, and it doesn't need any of the additional stuff. That being said, it can be enhanced by all that. And yeah, even though all of that stuff does kind of lead to where was I going with that, man?
Well, I've got a devil's advocate to what you're on about.
Oh, sorry. The
Yeah.
last point is hold that thought, please. But Thomas Lennon, for instance, the comedian that created Reno 911, he wrote the book How to Write Movies for Fun and Profit, how he
Mhm.
made $1 billion at the box office. His piece of advice, and he's always kidding, but this is true. When he said making anything, writing a script especially, but like making a movie, write the best piece of work that you've ever conceived of ever, and I'm not telling you this because you do this, but like that you've ever thought of make it. He's like, you finished? You did it? Took you how many years? Whatever. Cool, great, wonderful. All right, now go and make another one. And then you go and make a whole second one, whatever. Do your best. Takes you a couple of years. Great. All right. Now go back and look at that first one. How's it looking? It's not that good. So you can't shoot for the to be a 6 out of 10. You have to go for a 10 out of fucking 10. Not every story deserves to be told. You have to make the best thing ever if you're going to be doing this as a career. And fuck them for getting caught up in this and that, the chefs in the kitchen, the step one, the step two. Oh, we'll compromise here, we'll compromise there. I get that it's tough. It's always like a miracle to make a movie. And I give a lot of credit to people that are able to do it as for a living, but you see my point.
I hear you. I think there's some luxuries to that. I think that when it comes to the writing of the script, I 100% agree in terms of the script. You should take the time. The reason why the majority of films are shit, I think, is because they don't spend enough time on the script. You can never make a good movie out of a bad script. But I feel like a lot of those things fall into play, and you can kind of be a little looser and follow the wave of having cooks in the kitchen and people talking to you and the businessy whatever. I feel like all of that can kind of still happen and you can still make a great film if the script is great. Because I think everyone has that luxury to spend time on a script, unless you're like on script assignment, but usually those are shit because they're under some kind of time thing. But like, I think, um, what you're talking about though, like I feel like there's a lot of luxuries to that. I think there's only a select handful of people. Like I'll give you an example for mine, right? I spent 3 years on this script. I'm fully confident in this script. It's a movie that I know will be great because the script is great. The other thing I have control over is in the prep, I'm going to be shot listing every single shot so that once we set foot on that set, then shit can completely hit the fan, but we still got these markers in play. But there's so much to this, bro, that's like about managing personalities and like hearing those and making compromises and everything. I feel like that's like 70% of it, like at least at the lower levels where you have to I mean it depends who you're working with, whatever. But like when you have a smaller budget and you have a short amount of time and you got to make things happen and everything, there's like a huge chunk of this that isn't about the art. It's like, you know, those incontrollables.
Gotta do whatever it takes to get it done, right? That being said, I get your point, but like, dude, look at Sylvester Stallone and stuff when he made Rocky. He had no cards to hold, and yet he was like a drill sergeant with what he required. He wasn't willing to break, man, and he made a legendary film.
What was his process for Rocky? I know he spent like 3 days writing the first draft of the script or whatever, but that's all I know about it.
I kind of just remember that too, that like whatever, he has the story about writing it. I don't really remember, but I do.
There's this element though of films where it is sometimes it just doesn't hit. You can have the best intention ever. There's a version of Rocky. There's a version of the universe where Rocky was like not this classic. You know, it hit at the right time. It was like what people
No,
wanted.
no, no. Here's the difference. Here's the difference. And what you're talking about translates to other parts of life as well. You're saying whatever is meant to be will be, and you got to be at peace with what comes out in a way. So be it. Fantastic. Like I'm not taking away from like getting a movie made, whatever. Nothing but credit. But what everyone has to do is do their best to see their vision through at the end of the day. At least get that done. And you're right. It's not easy. Like even my dad's movie, 7 Days to Vegas, that didn't have to be the case. They almost got it like stolen away from them by the director and everything. And whatever, you gotta, yes, that happens and you have to live with it. But fortunately, they were able to somehow get Final Cut and make it. Yeah. If you have Final Cut, you might not have everything the way that you want it as far as what you get with actors, this or that, but you do have to figure out how you you can't just wing it. And I'm not saying that to you. I'm just saying to people in general. Like you do have to see a vision through.
Yeah, I agree.
A lot of
And
thought.
there's something great about I think where I was going with that is like definitely see the vision through, be really proud of the thing that you make, but once you release it out into that ocean, whatever the reaction is what it's going to be, you know? And so it's like I think the biggest thing is if you make something that
Those don't contradict each other though. Those points don't contradict each other though. Yeah, like
well, I think I'm guilty of, and I think a lot of artists are guilty of, like once they get the reaction back, like let's say that Rocky failed, you know, it's a very personal thing. He's obviously incredibly proud of it, but there have been, I think it's because I've done so many shorts where like I always have the best intention. Sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't, and so I've had to consciously be able to separate out like how I feel about the piece of art before I release it and then not letting that be like corrupted by the, learn and grow. But yeah.
it's so funny. They were just talking about this on Jason Bateman's podcast, Smartless, with Jude Law. Jude Law was saying like one of the first movies he did, he thought it was really good, but it didn't do that well at the box office. So he's like, it's a bummer. It gets kind of like labeled by how it does the box office. But that's not that complicated of a thing as I think it should be. Like we know the difference. You make a movie, if it checks off your box, if you did what you wanted to do with it and you swung for the fences and it nails it to you, it's subjective. That's fantastic that it means that to you, and I think you deserve to be proud of it from a quality standpoint. Now, if critics don't like it, it doesn't do well at the box office. We know all the time that they're wrong. That doesn't necessarily. I'm not just going to go and say just because something does well at the box office, that means it's a good movie. It might be a hit, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's quality.
Mhm.
Um,
The complex part about that though is like this whole industry is built off of FOMO and like
it,
being
it's
at,
built off of hits and flavor of the week. It's a tough industry,
yeah,
not
and
necessarily built on merit.
exactly. But that's what's tough about it because since we love doing this and we just want to get, I mean, the controllable that we have is to continuously like try to get deeper and better at our craft and continuously like make stuff we're even more proud of. That's what we have control over. But the thing that sucks is like, yeah, like in a perfect world, I would be like, well, I was really proud of that, but like it didn't hit. People aren't stoked about it. But the shitty thing about that is then like, will I get another opportunity to do the thing that I love doing? It's like that's
Yeah,
the part of the business is like you want to be able to make a living at it.
we know it's a tough business, and that's life. Is you have to just do what's in your control. Do it to
Yeah.
the best of your abilities. It's like do your best. What are you gonna like not do your best? So do your best, do it, and then yeah, if it gets perceived, if it hits, great. If it doesn't, then you get back on the horse, do it again. That's what I would recommend.
Yeah, I agree, bro. That's all you can do. And it's interesting you brought up Doug, like most successful one of the
Yeah,
most successful
great.
series of all time, you
Yeah.
know? Um and then he was talking about on his podcast, which you introduced me to, like
Yeah.
that next what was the latest pilot called?
Ramble on.
Ramble On. And I even saw some clips from it, like it was on YouTube, like a
Yeah,
little
they posted the
teaser.
trailer to kind of like
Yeah.
generate hype or just show people because everyone wanted to see it.
Yeah. So it's just like, it is a crazy fucking industry, but also we chose to be a part of this. We understand and it's always been fucking competitive. Like you can be like, there are more players now or whatever, but there's pros and
No,
cons to all times. Like back in 1980, it was really fucking hard. Like it's always,
it's never been chill.
yeah.
It doesn't make sense and it's a bit maddening. So like you just got to do you amongst the chaos.
To make Megalopolis, um, what's his name? Who's the,
Transfer.
thank you. Coppola sold his winery, which was like his cash cow, in order to make this film. Like film in of itself,
Movie bombed.
yeah, yeah. But he did it, bro. He did his vision, and you never know. It's like a crapshoot. That's what I mean, like by it not being sustainable. I feel like everything's about hedging its bets. Blumhouse, same way, ultra successful production company. They have the best batting average of any production company because their costs are so low. But still, they're still hedging their bets. They like half their films are already proven IP. The other half they're trying to see if this original IP will work. Sometimes it doesn't, and you never hear about the film. Sometimes it's massive. It's all like, you know,
Yeah.
it's a
Balancing.
crazy thing, but we're in it and we're doing it.
You didn't read Bob Iger's book, Ride of a Lifetime?
I've not. I know it's your favorite.
Okay, so you do know. I've talked about. I would get it on Audible, dude. I would get it.
What's like the highlight from that you can that relates to this? Is it
Like,
just like resilience? He stuck it out. He was on the corporate side.
well, I'm glad you should ask because it did. The subject did make me think of it. For one, just that like we think it's tough, being at a small production company. He is at the biggest company that all they're trying to do is figure out how to balance it out. And like he greenlit Twin Peaks with David Lynch, RIP. And like then you got a hit, but then like the second season wasn't doing well, and how to get that back on the tracks, and all these creatives that he had to go through. And it's even more interesting, in my opinion, that he didn't come from the creative side. He came more from running the company at ABC on the East Coast, and he gets to Hollywood, which was interesting. I found out much more respected. Like people act like the Hollywood branch was so cool,
Hmm.
and with the artist, he gets out here and he's supposed to head it and lead it, and people are like giving him shade because he doesn't come from it. And then someone sits him down and he's like, "Oh, I know, I don't know how to read scripts. It sucks, right?" And the guy's like, "There's nothing to it." This great artist is like, "There's nothing to it. Just sit with it, do it enough times, practice it enough times. Your best judgment will come out." And Bob Iger had a very illustrious career, and one of the biggest moments for me with stuff that might sell you on the book is when Iger went to pitch himself as Disney CEO. There's some people that doubted him, that didn't want him in the meetings, or that didn't want him to be. So he's sitting outside of the shareholders meeting, and he's going to go in and he has to basically convince these people that he should be CEO. And he's outside this office room, and he recites the Teddy Roosevelt speech, "Man in the Arena," to himself.
Wow, dude.
Yeah, a man with marred with blood, sweat, and tears that, the critic can't say anything about because it's the man in the arena that really experiences the ups and downs, and they have that for themselves. And he knew the whole speech and he recited it to himself, and he went in there and he got the job. Disney
Dude, I'm
C.
so glad that you told me that, man. That's something that like I know that quote, but it's not been top of mind for like a year. And the fact that Bob Iger was out there and dude, because it's so fucking true, you know? It's the easiest thing in the world to be a critic. And how many people are like on your end? How many people are like actively pursuing acting at like the level that you're looking at? How many people are putting together features like and figuring that shit out and actually talking to investors, being in the arena and also keeping in mind too that it's difficult for everybody. Everyone who's in these positions, no matter what level, like you think that because someone's at a certain level, they're not having their own challenges. It's like it's pretty much the same challenges, just at like a higher level, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
As your new normal adjusts and then you're like
yeah.
command 10 mil a picture, like that's you in like 5 years, right? And like if you like don't get it or you're like up against like fucking Leo or whatever and you're like, oh, what the fuck, but then you got to like check yourself and be like, okay, like even where we're at right now, it's like,
Gotta
dude,
check.
our younger versions would be killing to have the problems that we have right now. Think about that.
I think so. I think I'm right before the point where I would be killing to have these problems. I think I'm right on the cusp of it. Yeah,
Give yourself like a couple months and you'll be there.
dude, sounds
Me
good
too,
to me.
man. This is going to be a big year for both of us. I feel that.
I think so. Yeah.
Like, I really feel like it's a significant level jump. I think we've been hanging around this level for like a little bit, and I think this is like a significant step up.
The snowball finally found the hill to roll down.
That's it, bro. Man,
Dude, I think
arena.
Man in the Arena. Check that out. And genuinely, man, the Bob Iger book from like he wrote it for people in entertainment, I think too. Like it'll inspire you, especially with like the business side of film as well, of like financing and everything. Like, dude, I'm gonna reread it.
Bro, look, I'll put it on. I don't even have a list because I don't read books, but
But
I'll,
in the car, you take 2 hour car rides all the time.
I know, man. I'm like a music guy, but
I get that.
yeah, you brought it up again, man. I love Man in the Arena. I'll definitely think about it. So, The Invitation, 2015, great film, highly recommend. It's really my favorite film, you know? So, you should check it out.
Whoa, 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 is that like
Oh, bro, I watched what's the movie you told me to watch that we talked about?
oh, the
I've yet
invitation?
to watch my favorite film, bro. 2015, The Invitation. I'll bring it up every week until it happens. You're gonna hate it because it's my favorite movie, but you're gonna watch it.
It never stood a chance. Your favorite movie? It's got to be good. Okay. Okay. All right, boy. I guess that's the time to shut down.
Yeah. All right, bro. This is fun. Let's do it
All right,
again.
boy. You know it, my man. Have a great night. See ya.
Bye.